black Lexus. What's the car? Black Lexus.
It's a.
Get your backyard ready for any occasion with the help of quality battery tools by Stihl.
Bro, can you hear me now? Can y'all hear me? Oh my gosh. I've been talking this whole time. I just did the longest, like. Okay. Anyways, guys, let me start over. Shout out Andrew Jackson. Thanks for letting me know because I definitely would have been in this chat, like saying completely, just talking to nobody. But not. So today's session, I'm just gonna keep building this game. So far, what we got is this little rocket, or I'll just say this little cube for now, right? And all it can do is get to the other side. But it's not like landing on the landing plate or the base does anything just yet. It's kind of just there for decoration, you know what I mean? But yeah, today we're gonna be adding the setting, the obstacles in between the rocket. We're gonna make it look a little prettier. And by the end of the today's session, we should have at least one level set up, right? So it's gonna be nothing crazy. It's literally just gonna be me working, along with some like Minecraft music, cause you can never go wrong with the Minecraft music. That shit's just relaxing. You know what I'm saying? I used to study when I was in school. Yo, in school, bro, when you're studying and stuff, nothing's better than some classical piano music or just like some lo-fi instrumental, something like that. And I've kept that up into adulthood. That's what we're doing. But yeah. So you could follow along, see the process if you want, see what's up. If not, I completely get it. It's not like I'm gonna be here like being crazy, entertaining, like raging at a game or nothing like that. At the end of the day, I'm just documenting this whole process. So when my game that I do plan on making, my sumo wrestling game. Yeah, yeah, bro. Yeah. Nah, it's definitely gets to a point when you're really deep in and you're still listening to this. It just motivates you to wanna like go straight to sleep. You know what I mean? But yeah, man. I mean, it soothes me. It's better than nothing in the background. You know. I'm the type of person I'll play like a show, but like all the shows I be playing, it's like I've seen The Office like 12 times, bro. I'm not about to make y'all watch The Office a bunch of times with me. You know what I mean? But yeah. So that's what I'm gonna be doing today. I'm gonna just keep going through the course. Yeah. Again, tag along if you want. If not, I get it. It's just boring work at the end of the day. Like I was saying earlier, the whole point of me making these streams is so that down the line when my game does make it to the shop, and then after my game makes it to the shop, I make my app and deploy it to my app store because this is just one of many things I'm gonna build. At the end of the day, I'm an entrepreneur. I want to build stuff. After software engineering, I want to start electrical engineering to create some like electrical stuff. I look up to Elon, guys. If that man could take on SpaceX, Tesla, Boring Company, all that, you're gonna tell me I can't start my own little like couple things, bro? Get out of here. You know what I'm saying? So one of the things in the process is making it a game. So after I make my first game, my little sumo wrestling game, and put that in my like list of things I've done. Next, I'm making an app. That I hope to make a Cash App competitor, but it's gonna have its own features. I'm not gonna get into that. That's not it. That's not what I'm gonna do right now. And then I have one other product that I've already designed and have the prototype for, but I'm not ready to find a manufacturer and push that to market. Point I'm trying to make though, guys, is that I'm just building, literally. Instead of Kevin Condori, my name was gonna be Kevin Makes Things because literally like I just want to make things and I want people to see like, yo, you don't gotta be like this nerdy, bald, old dude that's has no life and like, bro, like you know what I'm saying? If people see someone like me, oh shit, what do you mean by computer CPU, GPU? What do you mean? You mean like just build my own computer with the parts and all? Because if that's what you mean, yeah, I have that. I could get into that. Yeah, I could let you know what I made, bro. I actually have 10 monitors. I have a problem, guys. Like, here, let me actually move it. Look, check it out, guys. That's my work setup with my burrito, and then I got 6 monitors. It's crazy. It's crazy. That was a bad show. I'm actually a day trader too. I during the whole AMC craze, I made $80,000 off like a $15,000 play. Oh, you want me to build it on the stream though? Is what you're saying? You want me to buy like new pieces and just create a new like buy the is that what you mean? Like Micro Center type, you know what I'm saying? I'm not really sure what you mean by like from scratch. If you're saying just so people can see how to make it, you know, I could do that, but for real, if anything, I'd probably just explain, you know, what you need and like the options you can get from that. And then there's websites that they link your like there's websites where you could put the parts that you want to get and they'll tell you if they're compatible. Nah, I'm not hip. JDH, is that like a builder or like what is that? Like just a guy that builds things too? Or just like or do he be doing like funny videos? Hey, I don't know if y'all been seeing Zach Ray. That guy is funny as shit, bro. He's just this little like Hispanic kid that looks white with like a buzz cut. He just goes around, bro. I don't usually them prank videos be corny, but that man is doing it like right. He be geeking me. That man's funny as hell. But nah, who's JDH? Put me on. especially before I lock in, because shit, once I start working, I might not even be looking. Okay, but a couple of his videos are him making a CPU on. Okay, okay. Let me look into that. My whole thing is that like since I have so many things that I want to create, especially since after this game, like an enterprise app, that's gonna be crazy. You know what I mean? But there's little hacks. For example, like I saw this one guy that does businesses, and he was saying like for some of his stuff, like what you'll do with competitors, like let's say you want to make your own LinkedIn, you could always hit up LinkedIn's like number two guy and be like, hey, be number one with me, 50-50 on this company, and he has money and experience. So there's like little hacks there, stuff like that. But that's besides the point. Yeah, I'll look into the CPU on breadboards and stuff. Okay. Okay, okay. Yeah, if that's something that people really like find like a big liking to, you know what I'm saying? And if I see something there that I could like create that people would like look at to maybe make their own versions, yeah, I'll definitely check it out. I can't promise that like I'll be like, hell yeah, I'm gonna do this, but definitely worth checking out. I'll do that. Let me actually write that down. JDH. JDH. Yeah, yeah. See, the thing is, I'm still learning. I'm still learning. So, I'm fortunate enough to have a Udemy course to just follow along to learn my stuff with. But like for example, I'm making a backtest spreadsheet on Excel, and that I'm trying to like do. There's this one guy that teaches you how to do it, but he charges like $300 like a month or something. And me being a software developer, like I work in tech. I'm actually a software engineer. You know what I mean? I'm not about to pay $300 to learn how to do something that I could probably figure out on my own. Yeah. But see, what we do have though is Copilot. You guys got to get hip, right? Because there's ChatGPT, there's GPT-4 with OpenAI, there's Gemini, Google's Gemini, which is the worst one. Do not fuck with Gemini. It was worst experience by far. I've tried them all out. And then Copilot, easily number one, easily. I upgraded to Copilot Pro. There's no turning back. I'm not going back. Like OpenAI is cool, but I'm not going back. I'll probably see what Elon did though, because I know Elon's making G-Rock. I haven't tried it out yet. Like I don't even know if it uses GPT-4 or whatever, but definitely worth looking at. I'm not gonna be shut off to options and stuff, right? But breadboards. How to make a CPU on breadboards. Hold on, because I never even heard of that. CPU on breadboard. Oh, bro, this is hardware engineering, right? That's what I'd assume. He's a hardware engineer. Could you confirm that? Yeah, that's hardware
Make
engineering.
your
Oh
first
shit.
move with battery
Hey, so
powered
Andrew,
AI steel.
are you into hardware stuff? Like, is that your thing? Are you into hardware engineering, or is that kind of just like a little hobby that like you thought was cool? All right. They're making game engine in C. I wonder why he's working with hardware though, if he's like a C sharp. C plus plus, C sharp, or just C? Well, yeah, I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. Okay. See, the thing is, I know that C plus plus is gonna be, or just like what you're saying, C. Those. That's the language you're gonna want to learn if you want to go hard on like Unreal Engine and stuff like that. Like if you want to make like a game as complex as like Call of Duty or something like that. I know C plus plus is the language for that stuff. C sharp is more for like Nintendo-ish, like little fun games, you know what I mean? And since I'm a Java developer, it like translates so easily. That's the main reason. That's the main reason I pick C sharp. That and because I want my game to be friendly, I just want everyone like I said the other day, like if you're drunk as hell and everyone's just drunk, turning up, partying, and y'all want to like sumo wrestle on this 8-player game, like bam, turn that shit on. Like I want to make a game like that, nothing like competitive or you know. But yeah, that's weird. So he made the software. That's fire. That's fire. I'm not gonna lie, that's fire. I just don't see how that, like, for me personally, how I would take that to market, you know? And I think that's my end goal is like I want to inspire people that are more like me, you know what I'm saying? Because nowadays everyone wants to be an influencer. People want to be like rappers and musicians and models, and no one's looking to build shit, bro. No one wants to build shit, and that shit genuinely bothers me to my core. Like I do not like that shit at all. So I used to be videographer. You know, I was cool with some of those guys, and I'm definitely looking to integrate some of that, some of my connections, like in the music stuff and this and that, just to show people, like, hey, you don't gotta be into that shit to like, you know, that's kind of why I like the streaming thing, because it shook things up. Like streamers weren't like, you know what I'm saying? They weren't really big. But yeah. Yeah, exactly. No one can be anything if no one's building, bro. Like that's the one thing, bro. We're entrepreneurs. We are entrepreneur nation, bro. That's what other countries don't got. Like we are above because we can innovate. We can create. That's what people don't get. Like you see how hard them Asians be working? Like they be working hard like that all day. Imagine if they could innovate and go crazy like the way that like we're allowed to. You know what I'm saying? Like shit is crazy. So I don't know. It's crazy to me that people aren't taking advantage of that. But yeah, that's besides the point. Now I'm just kind of going on my own little rant. So I guess yeah, let's take it from here. Let's see where I'm at. Again, guys, feel free to stick around. If not, I completely get it. I'm about to zone in. You guys are just about to see me like get into it. So yeah, let's get it. Let's do it. I'm hype. I always like finishing one of these sessions, man.
So what we're going to
It
go
always
through, I'll
feels
give it
great.
to you as a challenge so you can follow along as I'm...
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. You can't stay in the company. You gotta like do your own thing. You know what I mean? Like I work from 9 to 5, but the moment I'm off 9 to 5, like after I'm done with my daily tasks and stuff, I'm straight to building. Because if I'm not doing this at night, if I'm like everyone else and I go home and start watching TV and chill and play games for the rest of the night, which I do occasionally. I'm not gonna act like I work 24/7. Like I'm not gonna act all like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna lie to you guys, but you know, if I just did that every day, like most people do, then I'm not leaving the company. I'm gonna be stuck there on a salary for the rest of my life. And there's nothing wrong with that. People like doing that. People like staying on a salary. That's cool. I'm not bashing on that, but it's not for me, bro. I don't like taking orders. I like working on my own time. Like I like being able to stay up to like 4 a.m. to finish my work if I have to. Like, you know what I mean? So yeah, I just want everyone to see the process. I'm gonna be building my app on here too. My little competitor, Cash App competitor app. You know what I mean? But yeah, exactly. That's that. But see, that's the trick though. That's the trick. Finding a job you're not drained at, that's hard, you know? Some of us are very lucky. But I'd imagine like for example, like getting in tech it's great because one, you just sit behind a desk all day, and two, as long as you meet deadlines, most of the time they'll trip. Like half the time it's a remote job, so you're from home chilling. Like those aren't draining. That's a job. Like I love being in tech, bro. It's great, right? But if I was like a construction worker that like they really watch how long you take your break, and they make sure you're on the clock, and they like micromanage you and you're breaking your back. It's hot outside while you're working. It's bro, it's gonna be hard, man. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to get home and want to like keep working, you know what I mean? So yeah, man, I'm not gonna lie, when I see that, bro, like it definitely makes me feel thankful. And big shout out to like any person
Were
that's
you hurt
like
in a
in
car
like
accident and it
that
wasn't
type
your
of work,
fault?
you know, manual
Contact
labor
the
and
Ken
stuff.
Nunn Law Office now.
I really can't hate. I really can. I show the utmost respect to the people that are building like the infrastructure and stuff. Shout out those guys, like for real. Yeah. Yeah. In some ways, yeah, definitely. Because at the same time, I feel like jobs like we're saying, like people don't even show respect to those guys. You know what I'm saying? Like you'll see a construction worker and people don't even bat an eye. It's like they're just like in the crowd, and I guess that applies to most lanes. Like most of us kind of are just in the crowd, but for something that's so tasking and so important at the same time, you know, that's gotta hurt a little bit. I know that me personally, I'd feel pretty like unappreciated if I'm not moving up and I'm just doing that every day and no one gives a fuck about me. You know, gotta show love to our men. Most suicides and mental health issues, they're men. They're all men. They're all men. Not all, but like most are men. And yeah, man, I pay attention to that stuff. I do. So yeah, man, if people can see the whole process of me like getting something like this done, and they see how it's done, they see how I push something to a shop, or they see how I built an app and assembled a team, or things like that, or they see, you know what I'm saying? They see that you could use Udemy to learn shit. Like, it's gonna, if I could at least change one life, man, I'm happy with that. Now,
Going
let's see
through
what this guy's
pause
saying.
the video if there's any moments where you need to tune things or do it your own way, but here's the list. We're going to apply changes to our prefab because it's good practice to do that. We're going to add an obstacle, freeze constraints for our rocket. We're going to fix our obstacle hitting bug that is going to show up in a moment, and we will set our drag value so the rocket feels a little bit more like it's flying through the air. Okay, let's start these one at a time. First of all, apply to our prefab. What do I mean by that? Well, we've made a couple of changes to our rocket. Our rocket is a prefab. If we look in our prefab folder, you see here's the rocket. If I click on the rocket that's in my scene, this is the instance. It's the instance of the prefab. You'll see in the inspector we've got a certain number of things, rigid body, movement script, etc. If I click on the prefab, you can see there's no rigid body and there's no movement script. That's because we've made changes to the instance, so this particular object that we've created in our world, but we haven't applied it back to the prefab. So those two are now different. I don't want that.
Okay.
I want whatever changes I make to be the same as is on the prefab. So what do? Click on the rocket,
shit.
and you'll see up at the top in
Alright,
the
hold
inspector
up,
we've
chat,
got
hold up, chat.
prefab, open, select, and over.
Yo, what's good? What's good?
I caught you in the middle of a stream.
Yeah, I'm about to build this game or whatever. Are you about to hop on League?
Oh yeah, I just got on.
Oh shit, bro.
But I mean, if you're doing that, straight.
play a game and a half because I'm only getting to like no play
Should I
two.
play ARAM?
Yeah. Do two ARAMs. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, straight.
All right, bet. I'm about to hop on after.
All right, I'll be muted though, so you could continue keep talking to your stream.
All right, bet. Good looks, bro. Yeah, I'll be done.
Overrides. Under
All right,
overrides,
chat.
we can
We
click
back
the
with
little
it?
arrow, and you can see there's a few things here. Rocket mesh renderer, rigid body, movement. They're basically the changes that we've made for this instance that are different to the prefab. I'm going to click apply all. Now you can see the rocket down here has changed
what do you
color
do?
because
What do you
we've
do?
changed the color in the applied it back to the prefab. So those two are now different. I don't want that. I want whatever changes I make to be the same as is on the prefab. So what do? Click on the rocket, and you'll see up at the top in the inspector we've got prefab, open, select, and overrides. Under overrides, we can click the little arrow, and you can see there's a few things here. Rocket mesh renderer, rigid body, movement. They're basically the changes that we've made for
Open,
this
select,
instance that
and
are different to
override.
the prefab. I'm going to click apply all. Now you can see the rocket down here has changed color because we've
Yo,
changed the color
word.
in the scene. If I click on the rocket as the prefab, see made for this instance that are different here. Rocket mesh renderer, rigid to be the same as is on the prefab. So what do? Click on the rocket, and you'll see up at the top in the inspector we've got prefab, open, select, and overrides.
I don't have
Under
that, though.
overrides, we can click the little arrow, and you can see there's a few things here. Rocket mesh renderer, rigid body, movement. They're basically the changes that we've made for this instance that are different to the
Maybe 'cause I'm in
prefab.
play
I'm going to
mode?
click apply all.
Yeah.
Now
Good.
you can see the
good
rocket down here
suggestion.
has changed color
It
because
is,
we've
you're
changed
right.
the color in the
Nice,
scene.
okay.
If I click on the rocket as what do? Click on the rocket,
Okay.
and you'll see up at the top in the inspector we've got prefab, open, select, and
Hey,
overrides.
my boy Andrew.
Under
Good looks.
overrides, we can click the little arrow, and you can see there's a few things here. Rocket mesh renderer, rigid body, movement. They're basically the changes that we've made for this instance that are different to the
Apply
prefab.
all.
I'm going to click apply all.
Okay.
Now you can see the rocket down here has changed color because we've changed the color in the scene. If I click on the rocket as the prefab, we have all of the same components and settings that we do on our rocket. So
Nice.
get into the habit of applying your changes back to the prefab. Quite often, it's a little bit like saving a file you're working on. You don't have to do it every single moment.
Yeah,
but
it's
you need
not.
to do
It's
it
not. I
quite
forgot for
regularly.
a second.
Speaking
I
of
didn't
which, I'm
realize it
gonna
was in
save
play
my
mode. That's
scene.
why.
What's next on single moment, but you need to do it quite regularly. Speaking of which, I'm going to save my scene. What's next on our list? Add an obstacle. Okay, here's a little mini challenge for you. Go ahead and add a little obstacle that we need to fly over in the middle of the world, and name it and prefab it. There's a little challenge for you.
Okay. Let's do a. What y'all think? Cube. I'll just do a cube. I'm gonna keep it simple. Let's do a cube. Why not? Cube. Alright. Let's make this like. Let's make this like this big ish. Too big? That's good, right? Yeah, that's alright. I could just change it later. Okay, and then I'll make it the same color as the ground. Bam.
I'll go about this
Oh,
by
and prefab. You
right-clicking,
wanna prefab
3D
it.
object, creating a cube I think is fine. You can see it's somewhere in our scene, not really in the middle. I want all of my obstacles to be at least along the 0 on the Z-axis, so we have to fly around or over it. We can't just fly in front of it for this sort of obstacle. So I'm going to right-click on transform, and I'm just going to reset position. I could just do reset up here. You see the options: reset position, rotation, and scale. In this instance, they're exactly the same because I haven't actually made any changes to rotation and
Yo,
scale.
Andrew, you
I just
use
wanted
Unity?
to point out to you that we can
What
reset just one of
what
those
software do you
elements.
use?
The position or rotation or scale. So positions now down in the ground. I'm going to lift it up a little bit, increase in size, hit R on the keyboard, and then just scale up. I think I want to have
I haven't heard
it
that one
reasonably
yet.
deep, so it definitely looks like something you have to fly around, and somewhat wide. Okay, let's rename
What made
this
you
to be...
switch? What made you switch to Godot? Like, and did you build any games on Unity, or was that kind of just like for fun? Like little projects.
This summer's hottest blockbuster isn't a movie. It's a spicy new rap from Jimmy John's, starring Ghost Pepper Cheese and introducing Fire.
Obstacle, just good old obstacle, and then we'll prefab that as well. So if we wanted to drag a whole bunch of these into the world, we can. Let's give it a particular color. What color shall we give it? Ground, rocket launch pad. Let's make a new one that will right click, create material, and call obstacle. You don't have to have all of your obstacles one color, but I just want a different color to differentiate it. Drag it onto my obstacle while clicking on obstacle material. I'll change the color to be something probably more orangey, I think. Blends into the world a little bit, so maybe the other direction a little bit more in the pink. Good stuff. What's next on our list? We want to freeze constraints for our rocket. Let's click on rocket. Little challenge for you here. What constraints do you think we should freeze, and where do we freeze them? So take on that challenge and freeze the constraints that you think we should.
Okay. So you're not trying to make like really complex games. You just wanted to make the work easier for you, pretty much. Then. Okay, fair enough. I was just concerned maybe Unity was bad or something. Okay.
Our rigid body has constraints, and with the constraints we have these properties for position and rotation. I'm going to freeze the position on the Z, because I don't want my rocket to be going in and out of the world at all. But I do want my rocket to be going X and Y. Undo those. X and Y. And then in terms of rotation, well, obviously we want to be able to rotate on the Z-axis or Z-axis. So I don't want to freeze that, but we don't want to be rotating on the X or on the Y. So I will freeze X and Y. Just play to make sure we can still move our
I completely forgot
rocket
how to
around.
do
We haven't
that.
done something silly. Fly, rotate, rotate.
It was definitely
yes, all
nice.
good. Okay. I'm going to bring my main camera in just a tiny bit so we can see what's going on. W on the keyboard. Move in a little bit, down a little bit. Just so it's a little bit closer, a little bit bigger on the screen. What's next on our list? we want to fix our obstacle hitting bug. Well, we need to discover our obstacle hitting bug. I know this because I've prototyped this game. So let me show you what's going on here. And you know what? Our window's a little bit small here. So there's a button on our game window called Maximize on Play. We need to be out of play mode. Click on the game window, Maximize on Play. Now when I click on play, it will, guess what? Maximize the screen. Okay, that's bigger for you. Hopefully you can see what's going on. So here's the bug. When I fly along, if I bump into anything, it messes up, whoa, it messes up my controls so that I can no longer rotate in a way that makes sense for me.
I'm so glad
see if
that
I can
he's
show that
addressing
to you
that.
one more time, a little bit more cleanly.
Literally
Okay,
wondering
I'm
why.
pushing to the right, pushing to the left, and now I can't push to the right or the left anymore. It kind of messes it up. Okay, so we've got this issue where there's a conflict. Why is this happening? What's going on? Well, the issue is that we are telling our rocket, when we push a particular key, sorry, I'm in game window, scene window, when we push a particular key, we are saying manually force this to rotate that way or rotate that way. However, we also have another force at play, which is when the object hits another object in the world, the physics system takes over and says, okay, you hit it like that, I reckon you should probably do a little bit of this kind of rotating. But if at exactly the same time we're saying, no, I don't want to do that, I want to rotate this way, then we get this conflict between the two systems where we can get some weird bugs going on and we don't get the proper control back into our game. So there's a fix to this in terms of the constraints. So let's jump over into our script, movement script. And the thing we can do, if we scroll down to where we are applying the rotation, what we want to do before we take manual control, this is us saying, I hereby force you to rotate one way or the other, this is the point where we want to freeze the physics system rotation. So let me just go back to my rocket. Down here where we have our constraints, this is on our rigid body, and our rigid body is responsible for updating what's going on with the physics, or responding to physics collisions within the world. When we are controlling it, we want to say, freeze the rotation. Don't let the physics system do anything to the rotation. However, when we're finished with our particular manual rotation, we say, back to usual, unfreeze the rotation that's happening. We don't need to freeze it anymore. Okay, so let's write this in our code. I'm going to start by accessing my rigid body, because remember, we got a reference to our rigid body called RB up at the top, get from component rigid body. So RB dot, we have a property called freeze rotation. If I click on freeze rotation and then assign that to be true, we'll make a little note in here, so just a reminder of what's going on. We're saying we're freezing rotation so we can manually rotate. And then we'll do our rotation, and after we finish doing our rotation, we will unfreeze. So just a little micro challenge for you. How do you think we can write that we are no longer freezing our rotation?
Wait, hold up. Freezing rotation so we can manually rotate. Why would we freeze mode? Oh, while it...
Well, we write rb.freeze rotation equals false. And just again, a little note so we know what's going on here. We're unfreezing rotation so the physics system can take over. Save, see if this is working, see what sort of behavior we get now when we click on play. Maximize our window, fly. Now if I bump into it, well, it does bump it, but I can still keep controlling my rocket. That's good. Yep. And, oh, yep, good kind of response if we bump. Okay. Yes. So mainly this is for if we're on the edge of our landing platform or our takeoff platform, then we want to be able to land on the edge and not have it go too super crazy. Let's continue to save that. Jump back over into my list of things. The last one we're going to do is set drag value. So why do we need to do this?
Confused.
Well, let me show you if
like,
I'm flying.
Why? Freezing the rotation, like... I want to understand it. I don't want to just do it. I want to understand what he's doing. He's freezing the rotation when it touches what? So gravity's taking over, I guess, right? But then why would we freeze it? Why is it true? And then The thing is, the way coding works, it literally goes in order. So right here, it's true. We're freezing it. And then I'm gonna just keep moving. I'll get it later. I'll understand later. This is just a little confusing, but it'll make sense.
Off to the right, I continue to fly in a fairly steady pace, brrr, like that. Whereas I think it's going to feel better if when we're flying, I'm just going to jump out of here and show you this a little bit in my scene view. If we're flying, if we go thrust and then we stop thrusting, we're going to slowly slow down. If we thrust that way, we'll slowly slow down. So we want to have some drag in the air. The way we do that, pretty simple, just jump over into drag in our rigid body. I'm going to put this to say 0.25. Click on play, and then we'll see as we fly that we kind of slow down. So there's a little bit of that. If you stop thrusting, you don't keep flying off in the distance forever. There's a little bit of that drag in the air. Now feel free to play around with yours. You might want things to be so that you slow down quicker. You might also want to change the gravity in your world. The way we can do that, if we jump up into
I like this
Edit,
gravity.
Project Settings,
Are you wasting money on unwanted
Physics,
subscriptions?
right up
I
at the
have
top we
lots of
have
monthly
values for
subscriptions.
our gravity. Now gravity is a force that's going to be applying on the y-axis, like
Hold on, my bad.
settings.
Okay.
The way we can do that, if we jump up into Edit, Project Settings, Physics, right up at the top we have values for our gravity. Now gravity is a force that's going to be applying on the y-axis, like straight down in our world. We don't have gravity that's pushing us to the left or pushing us into the world, although you could do that. You could call it gravity, or you could call it wind, for example, to the player, and apply that. You know what, let's do that just very quickly. If I have x of -5, and then jump out back into
Go to install the rotation physics of the rigid body rotate. But why are we setting it back to false? Alright, hold up. Okay, I think I get it. It's because this only applies while we rotate it. So by default, so while we're pressing down on the actual keys and it's rotating actively, when we're done actively rotating it, it goes back to false. Okay, I get it. So in other words, like the key, the inputs are they're overpowering. Okay, I get it. Okay,
My
that makes
game?
sense. See, okay.
click on
Okay.
play. If I'm just pushing straight up, I'm not doing any left or right here, whoop, then he's kind of flying way off into the left. A little bit too much probably for the game, but if you wanted to have a little bit of a cross
Wait, where do you put the gravity to?
play,
I
if I'm
just wanna
jump out back into my game, click on play. If I'm just pushing straight up, I'm not doing any left or right here, whoop, then he's kind of
Yeah,
flying
that's what I
way
thought.
off
Why
into
would he
the
do
left.
that?
A little bit too much probably for the game, but if you wanted to have a little bit of a cross breeze that the player was flying into, I think that would be a really interesting way of going about doing things. Probably, let me just quickly humor me for a sec. I'm going to try this at -1, just with a little bit of cross breeze. Could be fun to have in
Okay.
some parts of your game. Yep, so you have to
Hey, so
work
you've
hard
been
to get
making
into the
games for a
breeze, and
while
then the
though.
breeze is going
If you
to
get
be
that,
pushing me backwards, as you can see. Back
it's clicking
into the
that,
breeze,
like,
and then
that
the
quick
breeze
for
is
you.
going to be pushing me backwards, as you can see, backwards. So kind of nifty. It's not really gravity as we know it as human beings, but it is gravity to an extent within the Unity language. So I'm going to put it back to 0. If you wanted to have your game be less Earth-like gravity and maybe Moon-like gravity, maybe you could
Yes,
have your
sir, okay.
Y setting to, for example, -4, then your whole game is going to feel a lot more floaty and a lot less dragged down to the ground. So you've got a lot more time as a player to think about what you're doing and not be sucked down to the ground so quickly. So If you feel that's a nicer way of playing your game, that's totally cool. You could adjust the gravity. And you know what, I'm going to leave it at that for now, just to see how it feels later on. We might want to change this, but for now it kind of makes us feel a little bit more like a lunar lander type game, and a little bit less like we're plummeting straight down to the ground. Okay, so there we go. We've played with drag. A little bit of a bonus thing I didn't have on my list here was to play around with gravity as well. We've worked on our movement. We've got to the point where I think movement is pretty good for the moment, and I'm particularly happy that we've addressed that
actually
constraint
is the
bug
I
that we
mean,
were finding where the two...
it's not the best way to learn fundamentals, but getting good at coding, the main difference between a senior developer and a junior developer is how much time the senior developer has spent debugging. That's the big difference. I mean, well, aside from like the things yeah, though, like if you're gonna debug more stuff, you're gonna be exposed to more problems. You're gonna have to do more digging. It's the debugging that really makes a difference. So definitely, unless you're saying you learn the fundamentals that way, like, yeah, nah, that's actually a really good way to learn.
Two systems, the manual and the physics. We've see your game, that's totally cool. You could adjust the gravity. And you know what, I'm going to leave it at that for now, just to see how it feels later on. We might want to change this, but for now it kind of makes us feel a little bit more like a lunar lander type game, and a little bit less like we're plummeting straight down to the ground. Okay, so there we go. We've played with drag. A little bit of a bonus thing I didn't have on my list here was to play around with gravity as well. We've worked on our movement. We've got to the point where I think movement is pretty good for the moment, and I'm particularly happy that we've addressed that constraint bug that we were finding where the two systems, the manual and the physics control systems, were fighting with each other. So, good stuff. I'll see you in the next lecture.
Nice. 1, 2. Number 2.
As we get more complicated with the changes we make to our code, you're going to want to think about two things. First of all, how do you access my code, as in Rick's code, to see what I've changed or what's going on, or if you want to have a look at my project? And also, how do you back up your project? How do you make sure that if you make changes, you can go back if there's any sort of mishaps or mistakes, or you just want to explore some different directions? So let's talk a little bit about source control in this lecture, just very quickly to get you up to speed so you at least understand the terminology. So speaking about terminology, here's some words that you might come across. Source control is basically a system for tracking and managing changes to your code and your project. It's a really good way to make sure that you know what's changed, and a good way to make sure that if you change something
we
that
would
you
use
didn't mean to
GitHub.
change or
We'd
didn't
use
want to change or
GitHub or
didn't work out
GitLab
well,
or
then you can
Bitbucket.
go back to a previous version
It makes
of
you
your
wonder if
project
it's like
nice and
the
easily.
same.
You might have heard about Git. Git
Okay,
is a
see,
type of
bam.
version control system that tracks changes to files. It's an open
that's
source
for coding.
system, and
How
there's a
would it
lot of
apply
other
to, like,
tools
a
and
game?
systems that are built upon Git. GitLab, also GitHub, but GitLab is the one that we are using for this course,
GitLab, that's what I
is a
use at my job.
repository hosting
I like
service
GitHub more,
online,
but I got used to
and you
GitLab.
can get variations of it that are free. If you publicly host your project, then it's free for you, and it's a place online that you can host in the cloud. You can host your project. The word repository, we often also use the word repo to shorten it. I tend to call it repo. It's a directory or storage space for your project. So GitLab is the website, the online space. The repo itself is what I am saving my project to. So for me, my Project Boost repo is being saved on the GitLab hosting service. And also, I use SourceTree. It's a
I'm gonna use
desktop
GitHub.
client to help
It's like
view
the same
your
thing
repo.
pretty
So
much.
it's not critical. You can do things through more of a command line terminal approach, but SourceTree is an example of a client. Let me just quickly show you SourceTree. This is what it looks like. It's just a client, and you can see for each of my lectures, I've got a commit that I've made. This is where I save it and I push it and commit my changes.
I don't
within
get how
the
this is for
SourceTree client.
beginners.
There's a bunch of other clients.
Like,
SourceTree is just one of them.
unless you
GitKraken
copy
I used
exactly
for a long
what he
time as well.
does,
It doesn't matter so much which
ain't
one
no
you
way,
use.
like, I
It's
don't
just a
know,
way
bro.
for you to be able to access your repo. Now, I've touched on this a little bit, but just specifically, why use source control? Well, it's a great backup to save your project,
Okay,
and as
word.
you know, for anything in
Word,
your
I
life,
wasn't
if you
hip.
don't save it, that's when
The
your
default
computer will
notepad
crash. So
app.
it's a good way to back it up,
Okay, I
not
didn't
just to
know
back
that.
it up locally on your computer, but also to back it
That's a
up
fun
into
fact.
the cloud so it's safe and it's protected if there's a mishap to your hard drive. It also allows you to safely
Does this
make
just tell
changes
us
to your
why we
project
use
knowing
source
you can
control?
go back to a previous version. So you can experiment. You can say, what happens if I change all of these things?
Oh,
And you
he's
might
gonna
say,
have us
oh
go
no,
on
I've
GitLab.
broken something. What am I going to do? Or you can just roll back to a previous
okay.
version and then continue working it. You're
Let
not
me
going
get
to
a
break your
different
project
window
if you're
ready.
using source control. Well, you're not going to break it as easily. And you can also explore multiple ideas at the same time. So you
Yeah,
might say,
it
okay,
took
what if
me
we
a
have our
while
rocket
to
go really fast
understand
and we have this sort of
source
explosion
control.
happening?
Well, it
Oh,
didn't
okay,
take a
let's keep
while,
that as an
but
idea.
it
But
definitely
also, what
wasn't
happens
like
if we have it go really
in the-
slow and
in
do this
one
sort of thing?
explanation
Or
like
what
he's
happens
doing.
if we that? And you have multiple branches or multiple ways of setting up your source control to explore different ideas. And also to more easily collaborate on projects, so you can share with your partners. If you're working with an artist or another programmer or a designer, it's important to use source control to be able to share. You might be saying, cool, how do I set up my own repo? Well, I'm not going to go into that in detail in this course. Here we're talking about Unity and C#. I don't want to get too bogged down in talking about repos and setting them up, but now is a good time for you to investigate how to set up your own repo. A couple of ideas for that. You can Google set up a Git repo.
I could
and
do
I've
that.
mentioned the tools that
I
I'm
guess
using.
I could
I'm
do
using
that if y'all
SourceTree and
want.
I'm using GitLab, so you can follow that path. Or even better,
Wait, can
you
you
can check out
open
Ben's
a
Git Smart
command
course
prompt
at gamedev.tv. It's a course where Ben goes into all of the details about how to set up source control so that you can be getting even more professional with how you go about creating your projects. So there's a couple of ideas there in terms of getting your own repo set up. I'm just flagging that now is a good time for you to think about this and to start researching and put some time and effort into it. Now, the other big thing I wanted to talk to you about was how you can access my project changes for the things that you see me going through on screen and the changes to the project I make. After every lecture, I commit my project changes to source control so that you can access exactly what I have changed in that lecture. And every single lecture will have a link to my project changes. When I say every single lecture, I mean every single lecture where I've changed the project. If it's just me talking about what we're doing in this section, there's probably not going to be a link. But for all the other videos, there'll be a link that can take you exactly to what we have just done and what I have changed. And the exact position on your screen will change where that link is depending upon where you're watching this video and how that platform is changing things around. But it's either going to be down below or just to the right. You'll find the project link and the resources that you can click on. And specifically, you can easily access my project by clicking on that link to see what has changed and compare my code to yours. And also, you can download my entire project to explore it and look at it and see what's going on. And you can do that wherever we're up to at this point in time in the course. So I might have finished recording this section by the time that you're going through it, and then you could go to the very end of the project and see everything that happens at the end. If you wanted to do that, that's totally fine. It's not a secret. You're allowed to explore my code and have a look at it. So let's quickly have a look at the mechanics of doing that. I'm going to show you in GitLab here. This is an example of one of the links that you would have been able to click against this lecture. So it's best to have a look at the previous lecture. We actually made some changes to our code. We're looking at rigid body constraints, and you can see some details here. And we're over at GitLab. We've also used GitHub a bunch. So some of our other courses, you'll see the repo is hosted at GitHub, but they're very, very similar. You want to look for the same words. Even if things have moved around a little bit on the screen, look for the same words. First of all, so you see 26 changed files. A lot of these files we don't need to worry about. They're not actually files that I changed, but because of the way I've got things set up at the moment, there's some background noise of things getting updated and changed, and if I'm moving around on different...
Okay, so anyone in the chat that doesn't know, I know Andrew knows, I know you be hip, you're hip. GitLab, it's just a fancy way of saving, and for other people to save to the same place, you know what I'm saying? It's so you guys can, like, multiple people can, it's just a fancy way of saving versions, and you could look through it like it's like there's a search history or something, and you can go back to that specific time frame to, like, maybe reload that version of what you want to redo. Like, let's say you broke your game and you don't know what the hell you did, you can just take step backs. Yeah, exactly. It's like pretty much like what Andrew's saying. It's kind of like just a big not group chat, because it's not like you can really talk, but you can make comments. Like if I save my code, I can type like, oh, I did this and that, and that's my update, and bam. So that if people who are in your team wanted to save your file, or they wanted to use your version, or want to see your updates, it's just easy to, like, communicate without having to, like. So that's it, guys. It's just a fancy way of saving. That's pretty much it. Unity doesn't have it, but we can use Git. You could just download Git for anyone that's interested. It's just Git. It's literally GIT. Let me see if I have it. It looks like this. Oh, this is the one that any good coder, like I don't want to say good coder, just any like most coders, I'll say that they're gonna use this one. Yeah, it's like a exactly, it's like a history book, and yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's a good way to put it. But yeah, Git Bash, that's the one that we're gonna use. We're just gonna navigate to our directory here and save it from there. I'll set that up later. I'm not gonna do any of that yet. I kind of just want to get like when he starts pushing it, that's when I'll set it
computers,
up.
then often
For
there's
now, I'm
files
good.
that are
These just
changing as a
early
result
steps.
of that. But when we click on the changed files, you can have a look and see what you're particularly interested in. And usually it's going to be one of our .cs files, one of our scripts. And you can see here assets/scripts/movement.cs, which corresponds exactly to our folder structure, assets, scripts, and then movement. So let's click on that. When we click on that, we can see highlighted in our movement script the changes that were made in green are things that are added, and if I'd removed anything, that would be in red if they're removed. And you can see exactly not work important thing
Sorry,
wherever
guys.
it says view file, no
Already hit
typos
all
you've
this.
made. Input binding, then we change it and change it and change it.
Ask questions if
Explore
y'all want.
what has
but
been going
yeah, I already know all this. I don't need to.
Load and download. Probably a zip is best. And
All right, next.
As he got bigger, so did his imagination.
Unity audio introduction.
Hello again.
Ooh,
In this lecture,
let's
we're going to talk
go.
about audio and get a very basic
That's fun.
implementation going. So when we click on play, we have a rocket thrust sound that just is playing in the background of our game. And in the next lecture, we'll get to the point where we're hooking it up in code so it only plays when we push spacebar. So let's start our understanding of audio in Unity. There are three main things that we need to make our sound effect play. First of all, we need an audio listener in order to hear the audio. We need an audio source to play.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, Andrew. Is here, let me pull it up. So the way it is in coding, when you want to attend like a specific thing, like here, I would literally just navigate to my folder. So let me see, and then I'd go to my documents, Finder, File Explorer. So this is just an example. I'm just gonna give a basic example of how I would do it. First, you find where you have your Unity stuff. Where is my Unity stuff, though? Actually. Let me see if I got, like, what's it called? Flappy Rocket? Oops, I misspelled it. Nope, Unity projects. There you go. Okay. Here's my folder. Okay, this isn't the exact one, but I'm just gonna use this as an example. So here's my obstacle game, right? I could copy the address, and then I'd open an app like Git Bash, and then CD is the command to change directories. CD is like I'm going into this folder, and then I literally paste the address we just copied. Oh, that's not. I don't want that. Those numbers there. That's weird. I've gotten used to using putty at my job. It doesn't have all that. Oh God, I don't know the syntax for. Why isn't it? What do you mean too many arguments? Alright, pretty much you go into the folder and then you do git push, you do your git commands from there. But you're right, you can do it from VS Code. Ideally, like. Oh wait, but we're not saving the actual game. We're saving the script. What am I saying? No, you're completely right, Andrew. I'm burnt out, bro. You're completely right. If we're saving the code, specifically our code, yes, you would do it there. Damn, bro, you're teaching me. Shout out, Andrew. Yo, you've been going at it. We would literally just open new terminal. Yeah, see, it's right there, and then we literally just a git push command. That's it. I haven't linked it up. We would do set upstream branch, and then I do like the link to my github.com/ and then whatever my thing is, and then it's set up. Then you could do all your git commands. But yeah, you're completely right, bro. Yo, I'm burnt, bro. My brain is just dead right now. Like I've been behind a desk for like 8 hours coding. I'm done. See, I'm even pressing play on the game, not the video. That's how you know. Bro. I might call it. I might do one more video after this, low key. Maybe I do need some rest. I haven't slept well.
Need the audio, and of
But
course we need the
on Friday,
audio file,
I'll
and
probably
these
go
are
at
the
it like a
sounds
good
that
5
get
hours, like I did
played.
last
Let's have a
Friday,
look in
since I'm off all
Unity.
day.
In terms of an audio listener, by default, the audio listener is nearly always on the main camera, because the main camera is where the player is looking. This is the view that we have of the world, so it makes sense that the place that our eyes are is also the place that our ears are. And if you click on the main camera and scroll down, you'll see that there's already an audio listener in place. Now, there always has to be an audio listener somewhere in your scene. If you were to accidentally remove the audio listener, for example, remove component, then you can just add it as an audio played. Let's have a look in Unity. In terms of an audio listener, by default, the audio listener is nearly always on the main camera.
You're not wrong.
Because the main camera is where the player
But
is
apps
looking.
and
This is the
games
view
so
that we have
different.
of
Like,
the
this is
world.
actually
So it
fun.
makes sense that the place
I do
that
not
our
like
eyes
fixing
are
defects for
is
some
also the
like
place that our
website,
ears
bro. That shit
are.
is
And if you
boring.
click audio listener, by default, the audio listener is nearly always on the main camera, because the main camera is where the player is looking. This is the view that we have of the world, so it makes sense that the place that our eyes are is also the place that our ears are. And if you click on the main camera and scroll down, you'll see that there's already an audio listener in place. Now, there always has to be an audio listener somewhere in your scene. If you were to accidentally remove the audio listener, for example, remove component, then you can just add it as an audio listener, just as we add any other component, and you can see here it's on the camera. Okay, so that's taking care of being able to hear the sounds and therefore play them through our speakers. What about the process of, what's next on our list here, the audio source? Well, the audio source is going to live on the place that is generating the audio, and if we're looking at thrust on our rocket, the audio source is going to be on the rocket. So if we click on our rocket, we're going to add a component, and this component will be an audio source. Add that component, and you see on audio source there's a whole bunch of levers and twiddly things to change around here. We've got volume, priority, pitch, and so on. We'll get to those in due course. For now, we're interested in audio clip, and you can see here it says none. What we're doing is the most simple of all audio implementations, where we're just saying this audio source, or this game object, has its audio source component and just one audio clip that it plays. There's just one sound effect that it makes if we take this approach. Often we have the need for a game object to generate multiple different types of audio, in which case we would do it a little bit differently, which we will do in a few lectures time, but for now we're going to do it the most simple way. So we need an audio clip to put onto our audio source. There's a bunch of ways to go about getting audio clips, but let's have a look at just two options very quickly. You could go to freesound.org, free sound, not free sounds, freesound.org, search for example, Rocket Boost, and then you can have a look at these different sound effects that are in here and see which one takes your fancy. Make sure you also pay attention to the licensing. Okay. If you're just doing this as a hobby for fun at home and you're not planning on publishing your game anywhere, then you can safely use pretty much all of the sound effects here. But if you are going to publish it online or share it in anywhere online, make sure you look at the licensing so you're not violating any of the licenses that these sound effects have. But that's an easy way to go about getting it. You'll probably need to register and then log in, and then that will allow you to start downloading all the sound effects you could ever hope for. Obviously search for a whole bunch of different things, and there's tons of sound effects here. There's a lot of different free sound effect sites. This is just one of many. Another option is to download the free tool Audacity, which will allow you to record your own sound effects. So I've already downloaded this and set this up myself. It's something that I use quite regularly, and the sound effect that I've given you for this lecture that you can use if you like as your rocket thrust, I've made it myself. It's as simple as hopping in here, pushing the record button, bada bing bada boom, and then stop, and clicking on the track, hitting spacebar.
What's your name?
There we go.
Yeah, I knew that sound he was using was his mouth. That just sounded like ass.
Bada bing, bada boom. It's both of us. And pay attention when you're downloading this if you're going to use it. There may be an extra step you need to do if you wish to export the audio. I think there's additional plugins you need to do that, but you can export a whole bunch of different formats. Let's talk about formats very briefly while we're here. One of the favorite formats is the OGG files. That's a .ogg. You'll see. There's a nice lightweight file that Unity accepts. Also, you can use a .wav or a WAV file. I'd recommend not using those because they tend to be gigantic.
That's true.
You can also use MP3 files. So for now, just focus on OGG or MP3 if you're creating or finding your own sound effects. If you do go and get yourself a WAV file and it's gigantic, remember we don't want gigantic in our game ever when it comes to file sizes, you can pop it into Audacity and then export as a different file type, for example the .ogg file. And there's plenty of tutorials on how to use Audacity, but I'll show you just one trick while I'm here.
Audacity's
You
easy,
highlight
guys.
the area you're interested in,
You
so
don't
you
need
can see
a
the
tutorial
sound
for that.
file here.
Just
Jump
browse
up to
around.
Effect. There's a whole bunch of things you can do in here. For example,
Literally,
change
like-
the pitch. We could make it a lot deeper and then hit play.
Bada bing, bada boom.
There you go, it's a different person. Or we can go for the chipmunk effect, which would be the other way around.
Bing bada boom.
Which brings my kids much joy when I take their voice and turn them into a chipmunk. So if you've got any kids, that's hours of fun if you want to do that as well. Otherwise, back to Project Boost where we're making some sound effects ourselves. So like I said before, I've given you a sound effect that I've created just simply by going into the microphone, and it's good enough for my purposes to make a sound effect. So I'm going to drop that into my project just by dragging and dropping. Although I've put it in a pretty silly place, haven't I? I've put it into scripts, so I'm going to drag that into the assets folder. Right click.
Yeah, bro.
Create
Being, especially if you're a
folder,
perfectionist
call
with
this
your
audio,
stuff. The thing is, when you
drag
care about your own
audio
work,
into audio.
bro, you want that shit to be good. You know, like it'll be stuff that nobody would even notice that you want to just like tweak. So I definitely
Take that I've
feel you on
created just
that.
simply by going.
But like low key though, that for me that's kind of the fun part though. You know what I mean? Like even though it's time consuming, it's kind of just satisfying to be like done with that. But that's
Into the
just me.
microphone, and it's good enough for my purposes to make a sound effect. So I'm going to drop that into my project just by dragging and dropping. Although I've put it in a
Okay.
pretty silly place, haven't I? I've put it into scripts, so I'm going to
Nah, man,
drag that
do
into the assets
Yeah,
folder.
assets.
Right click.
Wait, hold on. Let me look through sounds now. Alright, shuttle station.
Liftoff of mission.
Okay, that's not right. We're not using that.
And Houston Discovery.
No, those aren't sounds. It's ugly. Hold up, guys. What do y'all think? Nah. That good? It's a solid 100 or over. What do you mean? Oh, you mean just like percent? This one, right? No, not this one. This one's a good one, right? Oh, I've never even done that. Why would it go from 60 to 100? Like, what would we be doing to make the frame rate go that high? Like, why is that a goal, is what I'm trying to figure out. I know 60 frame rates per second is like the usual, right? Like, that's... I don't know. I don't like that one. That's not a rocket. Nah, that's ugly. I think I might go with that first, that one quiet one. Oh, that was cool. That was kind of cool. That was kind of cool. It's between that one and this one. Okay. Okay. Is it because like sometimes when it lags, like there's more like wiggle room before it actually feels laggy? Is that? That's a guess. I don't know if that's right. That would be my guess. I don't know. It's either this one. This is number one. This number one would be one of the problems if I have low frame rate. It's number one or number two. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I didn't know that. See, I don't even know if he would have told me that. You know what I'm saying? Number two, right? Yeah. You're right. Okay, let's do that. Let's download number two. Let's see. Hey, nice. Okay, let's go. All right.
Create folder, call this audio, drag audio into audio, so my sound effect into the audio. Okay, there it is in that folder. Excellent. If I click on that, I get some information about it. There's some things to do with decompressing and the quality, etc. We're not going to worry about that for the moment, but as you get deeper into making things sound really slick, you might want to play around with some of the settings that are in there. Back onto Rocket. Now I'm just going to simply drag my sound effect file into the audio clip, so that is now referenced. It is saying, what's the audio clip? We have a reference to this
I did
one
not
sound
know
effect
that.
we've...
I see. If you didn't tell me that, I would have thought the opposite. I would have thought because there's more frame rates, it takes more for the computer to run it. I didn't know that. I don't understand that either. I wonder why. That's actually something I gotta look up because.
When we go live,
Hold on, let me actually look that up right now.
We're not just changing the game.
I'm actually really curious about that.
We
Okay.
demand intuitive tools that make a powerful.
Would a higher frame rate in a game make it easier for a computer to run it? Is that a weird? That's a weird way to ask, huh? Actually, it's the other way around. Okay, let me say it. Let me say it. I'm saying if it's a game I make, if I did 100 frames per second as opposed to 60 frames per second for this game that I made, would that be what, less work for my computer to run? More optimized. Wait, I'm confused. And the more... That's the word. Okay. Wait, am I misunderstanding what you're saying? The more optimized. Wait, but I thought... Well, because you said 60 to 100 frame rates per second. Oh, whatever. That's besides the point. Whatever works. Whatever works. If it's frames per second, according to Copilot, 100 would take more. But maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're saying. I don't know.
Created or added into our project down yonder. Now there's something here you can see which is play on awake, and so that this lecture doesn't become gigantic, I'm going to leave it at this point, and then in the next lecture we'll do some coding to get all this working. But with play on awake selected, if I click on play, and we should hear a whole bunch of noise. There we go, we hear some noise. Now if you don't hear noise, there's a couple of things that might be going on. The first thing is you might have this mute audio button selected. You need to unselect that so that mute audio is not on at the moment. I'm just going to click out and maximize on play, so next time I play it's not maximized as well. So that's the first thing. Make sure you're not actually muting the audio. And you notice our sound effect went and then stopped when it got to the end. If you want it to keep going and going and going, then loop is the terminology here. If you click on loop, then that sound effect will just play and then play again and play again. You can turn loop off for the moment. The other thing to look at if you're not getting any audio at all is jump up to edit project settings. This is what happened to me. That I was scratching my head for a while just now. Don't know why this would be the case.
Hey,
but
if it works,
audio,
it works, bro.
You see that we
It's whatever.
have system sample
100
rate.
makes it
My
nicer.
system sample rate
And
was
hey,
set
that
to
computer
0,
better keep
and
up,
that meant
what?
that my audio wasn't playing. So I just changed that to 1. And the other thing to look at if you're not getting any audio at all is jump up to edit project settings. This is what happened to me, that I was scratching my head for a while just now. Don't know why this would be the case. But under audio, you see that we have system sample rate. My system sample rate was set to 0, and that meant that my audio wasn't playing. So I just checked, it worked just fine.
Yo, Brian, how long till your ARAM is done?
I just finished my second one, actually.
Alright, but I just finished my lecture. That's good timing. Hey, alright guys. Hey, we added sound. It was a short little session, but at the end of the day, we about to be on the weekend. I just moved out to Indiana, so like I don't know anyone out here. This is all I got to do, especially since it is the weekend. So, hey yo, Andrew, you a real one, bro. You a real one. You were helpful, short but productive. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Learn some stuff. But yeah, I'm definitely trying to finish this no later than Friday. By the end of Friday, I should be completely done with this course. Let me pull it up. Yeah. I'll be completely done with the Rocket game. And yo, Andrew, if you want to join me on the next one, bro, the next one's gonna be Realm Rush. I don't remember what that game is. Let me watch it just to like know, because I'm kind of curious.
In the first half, we're
Okay,
going to
fire.
have our objects being instantiated into the world.
Hey,
And
it's
we're
like a
also gonna be
tower,
learning how to
bro.
manage
That's
them
fire.
using object
Hey,
tools.
okay, bet. Yeah, after this one, after this game, yeah, that's the next game we're making. So like, yeah, bro, let me get past this one, and if you want to join in on that next one, let's do it. We all learning, right? But all right, chat, got through it. Next time we're gonna be working on the audio, fixing up the audio, and yeah, that's it. That's it. Big shout out to you, Andrew. All right, guys, take it easy. We'll talk tomorrow. I'm out of here.